Welcome to your latest edition of Striker Wars here on Football Yannick. What's going on, people? Benjamin Sesko, a well-desired profile of striker that lots of big teams have looked at for like quite a while now. That includes the likes of Newcastle United, but also Arsenal and Chelsea. Lots of teams have looked at him. I imagine Liverpool at some point as well has looked at Benjamin Sesko, the RB Leipzig young centre forward. But of course, players have got their strikers. Some clubs have got their strikers. Chelsea signed Delap and Joao Pedro. Liverpool have signed Hugo Ekitike for a big sum, despite the Alexander Isak stuff. Arsenal have got Victor Gyökeres. But, who have Man United got? They've got Rasmus Højlund. So yes, understandably, they're in for a big striker. But so are Newcastle. And Newcastle tabled a big bid for Sesko. What does it mean? Does it mean they're going to keep Isak, force him to stay? Because, of course, we've heard, since yesterday me uploading, news broke that Liverpool won't bid for Isak again. Newcastle were insulted by the £110 million package, less than the informal 120 that was talked about. So the bid was less than the verbal idea number before. So Newcastle were like, we don't want to hear from you again. And the brief was, Liverpool were like, yeah, we're not going to bid for Isak again. We're not going to do it anymore. We're not going to talk to them unless they ask us. Which makes you think, is there a world where Newcastle are like, right, this guy, Isak, he doesn't want to play for us anymore. Let's sign Sesko, and then we'll immediately get the money afterwards and sell Isak to Liverpool. He's out training in Spain. He doesn't want to play with us anymore. Maybe that. And of course, the other side is Man United really want to sign him as well. It's still up to the player. We're going to get into it today. Guys, thank you for joining me. As I always say, I'm very happy to have the growing subscriber base here. We're on the road to 20,000, which is incredible. So thank you so much for joining me and liking and subscribing. Right then, Ben Jacobs posts this on X. Newcastle make a 75 plus €5 million bid, so 80 million in total, for Benjamin Sesko. A club record offer. Newcastle's tactic has always been to get a quick agreement with Leipzig in the hope Manchester United can't or won't match it. Interesting, of course, Man United have spent big, 71 million quid on Mbeumo, 62.5 million quid on Cunha. Both massive outlays on good players, but probably, certainly Mbeumo I just thought was a bit much. I don't know. It's a lot of money, but whatever. It's both of those deals. For example, they spent more than on both of those players than they spent more on Rasmus Højlund they did on either of those players, should I say? Think of it that way. And Anthony as well, crazy money. So it's certainly better deals than those guys. On TalkSport, Joe Brophy says, yeah, Newcastle will have lodged a club record bid for RB Leipzig. So yes, it will be, what's 65 million pounds? That could rise to nearly 70 million, just shy of 70 million quid. It'll be like 69.3 million pounds, just say 70 million quid. Club record, of course, they spent 60 million quid on Alexander Isak. He's now, of course, talk of the town in terms of training away in Spain. Real Sociedad, as he tries to engineer a move to Liverpool. News of Newcastle's bid for the Slovenian comes a day after the club rejected Liverpool's offer for Isak. Al Hilal, relating to Liverpool as well, Al Hilal stepping up their pursuit of striker Darwin Nunez. Inzaghi, Saudi Pro League side, is interested in signing the Liverpool striker. You think they spent a lot of money for him, didn't they? They spent like 80 million quid? Was it that? It's certainly a huge amount of money because they signed him under Jurgen Klopp and it was like near 100 million euros. And it was the big story was, well, Klopp said we don't spend this money on strikers. You just have, mate. And of course, they've gone on since to spend loads of money. And of course, Klopp even commented on how Liverpool had a £111 bid accepted with Brighton for Caicedo, who eventually went to Chelsea. So even at the end of the Klopp era, he'd obviously changed his tune. Yeah, we'll spend the money now. Flippity flopper. But still, here we are. Benjamin Sesko. Now, both teams, you'd say, desperately need him. I'd argue that Newcastle need him with Alexander Isak, because they were in for multiple strikers. With their position, we're not selling Isak. Isak's staying, but we're in the Champions League now, and we need backup. So with our superstar striker, Alexander Isak, who is staying put, yeah, with him, we're going to sign, I don't know, Liam Delap, 30 million quid. Oh no, Chelsea took him. Right, I don't know. Let's put all our scouting efforts into Joao Pedro from Brighton. Oh no, Chelsea took him. Screw it. We'll spend big money. We're going to go all in for Hugo Ekitike. Oh no, Liverpool took him. You know, so and then, like I said, insult to injury, the whole Alexander Isak transfer saga. It would be pretty interesting and compelling should they keep Isak. I mean, it would be kind of nice just for a player to go on strike and be like, no, bro. No. I remember the sporting director of Sporting was saying, Victor Gyökeres, yeah, we'll come back, we'll fine him for, you know, going on strike, and he's under contract, and, you know, you can do one, basically. He's got to come back. And, of course, they eventually sell him to Arsenal. But maybe it would be a refreshing turn of events for, you know, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, who don't need money. There might be PSR stuff, but I don't think they're in PSR trouble, per se, Newcastle. But it might be refreshing for them to just be like, no, whinge all you want, moan all you want in Spain. We'll just sue you, we'll fine you, and eventually, if you want to play football, you know, you'll have to come back and play for Newcastle. And you know what? We've just also signed this guy, Sesko, for you to play with. He's wicked. Stop having a little grump and sort your sugar out, mate. You know? So it'll be interesting if they do keep Isak and sign Sesko. But I do wonder, I do speculate, I do worry that this is being lined up as an Isak replacement, because he's high profile, Sesko. Like I said, he's been scouted by loads of top clubs. He's a really desired striker asset, and you'd have to assume that he is being lined up for an Isak replacement. If a deal gets over the line, say, you know, 70 million quid, they go to Liverpool, right, do 120 million quid, but we want 70 up front, and that will cover Sesko, and we can also get additional payments over time to supplement the squad, and we'll just have to get on with it like that. Maybe, I just don't know. It's really tough to say. On the Manchester United side of the ledger, they're just in desperate need of a striker as well. I heard some people speaking and speculating on Rasmus Højlund probably being better with Bruno, Cunha, and Burmo behind him. And yeah, maybe. I'm not one of the... it was on the Football Ramble podcast, great football podcast. They were saying at his best, he looks promising, Rasmus Højlund. At his worst, he looks awful, like absent, devoid of confidence. So the fluctuation, the floor is so low, and the ceiling currently isn't that high, although the long-term ceiling could be higher. Do you know what I mean? I still think he'd massively benefit from a loan, a developmental loan, because if they sold him now, they'd make huge losses, like a lot of their other players they're trying to flog. So they need to believe, you know, this player, this Atalanta youngster, Rasmus Højlund, that they bought for 80 million, that Chelsea were looking at, that a couple of other clubs were looking at, that there is something still there, because lots of big clubs, again, like Sesko, were actually scouting Rasmus Højlund because of his profile. So, you know, go and loan him out, try and develop him elsewhere, and then bring him back. And yeah, look, man, if Man United sign Sesko, great for them. I mean, you'd have to say, this will be Amorim's real moment, you know, like, are you still this great young manager that everyone's talking about? I'm not one of these people that's written him off because of what happened when he was thrown in last season. No, here's your chance. You've managed to, you know, you've been given the right to do what Maresca did, or apparently it wasn't Maresca so much, it was Maresca and Sporting directors. Bomb squad. You don't want those guys, they're not training with you, they're away. These are your man. We're bringing in excellent plug and play, deliver now players in Cunha and in Burmo. Freaking, don't worry about Rasmus Højlund anymore, mate, because we've brought you Benjamin Sesko. No excuses. You got Fernandes, Ugarte, your player from Sporting, they went to PSG, he's there. You know, Casemiro is having a little bit of a remontada in his form. You've got, good defenders. and whatever you feel of Onana and goal. Do you know what I mean? This will be, right, Amorim, make or break, mate. That's what I think personally. But very, very interesting indeed. I will follow this story closely, so keep it locked here to Football Yannick. Let me know what you think in the comments about the Sesko transfer wars. Where's he going to go? What's going to happen? It's so compelling. But yeah, like I said, keep it locked to the channel. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and I hope to see you back here soon. Peace.